doors. Anybody who wants yard signs, anything, please, we'll figure out a way to get them. But here's the deal. I'm so inspired to be here because many of you would not know this, but my father, Dr. Harry D. Harper Jr., is no longer with us, but he was a psychiatrist. And he worked in Fort Madison prison. I was born in Iowa, and my grandfather, my dad's father, had an 88-acre farm right outside of Fort Madison, Iowa. And it's a small town, but it's a prison town. And it's a prison town that's much like Jackson. You know, it's not a big town, but they have a big prison. And it's one of those old prisons. It's all big brick, and it just, you know, it's not a fun, beautiful place to be, right? And none of them are. And as a matter of fact, I was just in Genesee County the day before yesterday in the Genesee County jail, speaking to everybody who's inside that jail, because so many people don't realize that if you're in jail awaiting trial, you can vote. Most people don't know that fact. I've had so many people come up to me and say, man, I got a felony, I can't vote. Well, first of all, you can vote, you can be on probation, parole, you can be in jail awaiting trial, etc. So we have to meet people where they are. And so when we talk about mental health, and we talk about health of our community, particularly men, I want to talk about something that, and I love the title because the subtitle of my first book was Manifest Your Destiny. It was called Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny. And I want to talk about this concept that I think many of us, either we don't get taught it or we forget it. And this is a simple idea, and it's based off of a concept by James Clear, where he basically said, we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. We don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And what that simply means is, unless we set up systems of mental health, physical health, community health, unless we set up the systems, we can have goals to end violence, or to be happy, or to stop trauma, or to have cross-generational wealth transfer, or to increase literacy rates, or all these amazing goals we can have, but if we don't have the systems in place, it's not going to happen. And most of us have never been taught individually a system for achievement and success and how to do it. In other words, I call it the pinball factor. Most of us pinball around life. And it's not our fault. We just know we have some goals, and then we try to do this, but then an obstacle comes that's like a bumper on a pinball machine and moves us this way. And then we're dealing with that obstacle, then we get moved over here. And then all of a sudden, the game is playing us. And we're not controlling the game. And so how can we have a system in place that controls the game? And the way I talk about it, and I love to share it, and you can sort of translate it into your own space, but this idea, this concept of being active architects of our own life. This idea that we're active architects of our own life. And I want to break that down real quick. And so is there an actual architect here? Somebody? Anybody studying architecture?
We're social workers.
Okay, so watch this. What's the first thing? I'm just coming here. Help you before she gets here. What's the first thing an architect will create when they have a goal to create a structure? What's the first thing they're going to make? The blueprint. Why would they do the blueprint first?
Because you have to know what you're doing.
So you have to have a plan. Okay. So we all got these goals, right? But very few of us have a blueprint. In fact, whenever I go up to somebody, I say, can you show me your blueprint for your life? They're like, oh, I got you. And then I say, where is it? And they always say, where do you think people say their blueprint is? Up here. Now tell me this. If you were going to hire me as an architect, and I said to you, I got you. Just write the check. I got it all up here. Would you hire me?
No, not at all.
So why would we ask for more specificity from an architect building a structure for us than we ask of our own selves in building a life? The vast majority of us, we actually don't create the blueprint for our own lives. And therefore, if we don't create it for our own lives, how are we creating a blueprint for our family? And then how are we creating a blueprint for our community? And then how are we creating a blueprint for our city and our state and our country? But we gotta start here at home with us as individuals first. So blueprint is critical. And I would suggest to you, well, I'll ask. I'm not going to suggest. I'm going to ask a question because my resident expert architect here. Why historically did they call it a blueprint and did they use paper and pencil?
Have it on paper.
In order to put their vision on paper for someone else to see it?
Yeah, but why did they use paper and pencil as opposed to some other thing?
You needed a tool.
Yeah, the changes in your.
Okay, so to make modifications. So they called it a blueprint, and now they use a computer. But the point is that when you set out to create your plan, it's not set in stone. And most people don't plan because they feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get it right. Point being, you have to create it and then know you're going to modify it over the course of your journey. It's going to be a continual process of modification. First step of building, being an active architect in your life is a blueprint. So we're going to start with that blueprint first. Now, we got our land. We're an architect. We got our land. We got a blueprint that we think is acceptable. We got the city to stamp it up. We're ready to go. We got our land. We got our materials. What's the first thing we're going to build on our land when we set out to build the structure? What's the very first thing?
Foundation.
The foundation. Now, why is the foundation the first thing?
Because it's going to hold everything else, and it's most important.
Okay, so it is the structural integrity piece of our whole building. You know when they were building that new Hudson building, did anybody go downtown? Did you see how deep they went to go up? So the size and thickness of your foundation is directly proportional to the size and scope of your goals and dreams. So let me give you an example. I went to Brown University undergrad. I studied economics and sociology. I was valedictorian in my department, and I decided to go straight to Harvard Law School and get my joint degree at Harvard Law School and the John F. Kennedy School of Government, get my master's there. When I came, first day of class, I walked into the gym because I don't know if you guys have seen the movie He Got Game that I did, but if you saw that, you know I'm a really good basketball player. You see? I don't know why that got the biggest laugh today, but it's true. And I like basketball. So I walked into the Harvard Law School gym, and there was this tall guy in there. I said, hey, man, you want to play basketball? He said, why else would I be in the gym? I said, smart, man. What's up with you? I said, what's your name? He says, my name's Barack. I said, Barack, nice to meet you. Now watch this. Because we're talking about foundation building. This guy, Barack Obama, that I looked up to, not just because he's taller than me, I looked up to him because he had a sense of purpose and gravitas, but he was also almost 30 years old. I was in my early 20s, coming straight out of undergrad. He had taken 7 years off in between undergraduate college and grad school because what did he discover? He discovered, based off his goals, he didn't have an educational foundation to support the scope of his goals. So he had to go back to school at almost 30 years old to add Harvard Law School to his educational foundation if he was going to achieve the goals he wanted to achieve. Does that make sense? So therefore, it's a continual process. It's not a linear process. It's a build upon a build upon a build. So we're always adding new pieces to our foundation. As we discover new goals, we have to add new pieces. So what are just yell out foundational elements for our lives? I already gave one. Education, that's one, foundational. What else? Integrity? Yes, what else? Come on. Values, yes. Love, support, yes. Health, absolutely. Respect, okay. Self-care, fantastic. There's a huge one that no one said yet, and I know why no one said it, and I'm going to explain why, because no one ever says it earlier. Resources, right there. Money, resources. So, most of us have been taught that money is a result. that we're supposed to chase it. But if we actually think about it as a foundational tool, it changes our relationship to money. Money is just like education. It doesn't buy you happiness, it doesn't buy you success, but it buys you options and choices. Options and choices is oftentimes the most valuable thing we can have. That's why when you lock somebody up, what you're doing is it's the greatest penalty in the world. You're taking away their choices and options. You're taking away their freedom. The more money you have, the more resource you have, the more access you have, the more network, bigger your network, the bigger your education level, things that you've learned, it buys you more options. And optionality creates one beautiful thing. It gives you the ability to fail. And chasing failure is a key piece to greater success. And let me break down why. Okay, so most of us have been taught again wrongly about failure.
Failure is good.
My goal in life is to chase new ways to fail. My goal in life is to chase new and different ways to fail, because that means I'm pushing up against the level of my capacity and my ability. The vast majority of people you will meet in your life are living lives that are much smaller than they were meant to live because they're afraid to fail. And so what that fear does is that it also transfers to family members. Fear for me stands for false evidence appearing real. The vast majority of fears we have are completely inherited. They could be race-based, income-based, community-based, religious-based. There are all these fears that get shared by family members. And let's be honest, sometimes parents can be the biggest dream killers of all. Because parents don't want to see their kids. We love our kids so much. And I've had to check myself. My son's 8 years old. And I do everything I can to practice what I preach, right? So I said, I'm never going to project fear into him, because I think it's just, we're in a world that is just constant bombardment of subconscious fear projection. And most of the fear projection that we get hit with is advertising based. They're trying to extract money from you based off your fears. And so, I was at the playground. If you ever go to a playground, it's a fear projection cacophony. Don't stop, get up, you'll hurt yourself, get down, don't do that, oh no. That's why I always say to myself, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that.
Not the cacophony.
I'm not gonna project fear into him. I never say, don't stop, do it. I say, do you think that's a good idea? And so, we were at this place that had a really steep hill. And he had his scooter. And he said, I'm going to ride my scooter down. And I said, do you think that's a good idea? And he thought about it for a minute, and he said, yes. And this is bad. This is bad. Because I could see what was coming. But I almost stopped it, but I said, I can't do it. I can't stop it. Because I got it. And so I was just literally praying. I knew he was going to crash. But I was praying he didn't break a bone. Because then I would feel, because that's more permanent. If he ended up with like some brick scrapes and whatnot, that's okay. But breaking a bone, I would want to prevent that. So he starts going down the hill, and he starts wobbling back and forth, and I knew it was coming, and he's just going way too fast. He starts screaming, and bam! Hits the ground, rolls. He's screaming bloody murder. There's blood over, because he ripped off this part of his elbow, blood. But I was like, I ran down, I said, are any bones broken? He's like, ah! And I checked the bones, and his bones were fine. So I said, thank God. But the beautiful thing about it, he's never done that again. You see? He failed, but that's okay. He was testing the limits of his ability. He was testing, and he loves to ski. And I love the fact he loves to ski. And so he's a really fast, good skier. I think because he's never developed a fear metric around speed. Right? And that to me, it's a beautiful thing, right? And so when you think about your foundational toolkit, check in with the fear quotient. Because fear is the number one thing that stops us from taking actions that we should take. We all have an intuition of things that we know we should be doing. We know we should be doing, but we allow fear to stop us. And that includes meeting people and talking to people. And I'll tell you this right now, real quick. This is a whole aside. I got invited to this Salute Our Warriors event last night, where the person was like, it's going to be all Republicans mostly, but you know, hopefully the person I'll be running against for U.S. Senate on the Republican side, he's probably going to win, Mike Rogers. If I can win August 6th, I'll be running against him. So he and I were sitting next to each other. I was talking to him. And these people, when I tell you after the thing, you know, the ceremony, coming up to you, here's a card, hello, how are you? What do you know, this, that, you know. I was like, man, these Republican things, they've never worked their ass off. They all about business. Hey, how are you? Can we do a deal? Hey, how are you? Is there a way we can work together? Hi, how are you? What are you doing? Can we work together? Can we make some money together? Hi, how are you? Can we make some money together? What are you doing? You want to build something? Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you, Hill Harper. What are you doing? Let's work together. I was like, you go to some of our events, we can agree on 9 things out of 10. We disagree on 1. I can't work with him. I can't believe that he liked that movie. That movie was insulting to black people. I can't work with you. The opposition, they can disagree on 9, agree on 1, go storm the Capitol together. We have to get over ourselves when it comes to our foundation. We don't gotta agree on everything. We shouldn't agree on everything, but that doesn't mean we can't partner. And I don't know where we got this notion that we had to be 10 out of 10 to partner. Mm-hmm. I just got criticized for having Dave Chappelle come in and host a fundraiser for me. I don't agree with all of his comedy. And just because he's hosting a fundraiser for me, why do people think that I agree with every piece of joke he says? It doesn't mean I support every joke. It just means a friend's trying to help a friend out win an election. You're like, I can't vote for him because he had that person who said this joke. Are you crazy? Okay. Don't put that on social media. It'll just make it worse. It'll just make it worse. So just leave that one, cut it out. Cut it out. Leave that one alone. So we got the blueprint phase first. And then we have the foundation. It's directly proportional to the scope of our goals and dreams. And then the third piece, and this is really a critical piece of being active architects of our own life. I'll come over here. This is a hard one to answer. I'm going to come back here. So, we have our blueprint that we've decided how we're going to build. Then we have the foundation that we believe is the right scope for the scope of the project we're going to do, our life. What's the next thing that an architect builds onto the structure as they continue to grow and build the structure? What's the next thing? After you got your foundation, what's the next thing you build? Base is the foundation. It's already built. Anybody got it?
Frame.
The frame. Why? Who said frame? Who said frame?
Everybody.
Why? Tell me, why is the frame the next thing that you build?
Build on the frame.
So you can build on the frame. So the frame attaches to the foundation, and then you start building around. So if you think about your life, you think about our life, and you think about what it is. You have this foundation that we're building in our life. It's education, relationships, network. We're bringing assets, resources, all these foundational elements. But then the question is, what are you going to start pinning it to? And here's the question. If someone gets this question right,
You get nothing.
you're going to win a prize. Now, I'm not going to say exactly what the prize is, but let me just say this. It could be a brand new
Yard sign.
iPhone Pro 15s with Morgan Freeman as the voice of Siri. Or it could be just a firm handshake. I don't know which it is. I'm not saying which it is. I'm not saying which it is.
Not the Morgan Freeman.
But if you get this right, You're going to get a prize. Now, in this idea of being active architects of our own life, this analogy, this metaphor that we're running with, what would the framework element be for our life? What do we have to attach to our foundation to build the life we want? What would the framework be?
A support.
Support. This is good. This is good. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Anybody got it?
Faith. Faith. Faith.
Faith.
What would Jesus do?
Ooh. Okay, I'm taking the prize off the table. I'm just saying, nobody got it. Nobody got it. I'm going to keep the iPhone 15s. It's okay. It's okay. The framework for our lives would be the choices that we make. Every day we are faced with multiple choices. And the question is, are we making choices that refer back to the blueprint and are attaching to the foundation? Or are we making choices based out of fear, or based out of someone else's projection, or based out of what we think we should do? Choices. So many of us don't actually systemize our choices. We end up pinballing choices. In other words, life begins to dictate to us our choices rather than us dictating the choices. So therefore, you can have, we can use examples from entertainment or sports, you can have people that have great blueprints, incredible foundations, but they made some poor sets of choices and everything went off the rails. Mm-hmm. Tiger Woods was supposed to win more majors than any golfer in history. And then he started making some choices that took him to a different direction. And he's been able to bounce back and kind of come back. But those choices that he was making were not in line with his blueprint. And that's okay. But if you set up a certain blueprint and you always have that basic document to refer back to and say, is this choice in line with it? People will tell me, for instance, for me, when I was coming out of Harvard, I had 2 graduates from Harvard. I'd gotten offered all these very good paying legal jobs in corporate, I worked at law firms over the summer in New York, and they were very high paying 6-figure jobs coming out of school in my mid-20s. And I had $150,000 in student loan debt, and everybody, for the most part, said, man, take one of those law jobs and then pay off your student loan debt or whatever, and then follow your goal to be like Paul Robeson or Harry Belafonte or etc. Just think about that. It seems to be sensible, but it's the complete wrong advice. Mm-hmm. Because they're projecting their fears on me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The right advice is to say, okay, so you're going to be an actor. You know it doesn't pay well. What job are you going to take to be available to do what you need to? Because you got to make money. Okay, you found this waiting tables job from 11 at night to 7 in the morning to work in a diner. So you can be available during the day to do auditions. So I have that job. And they say, is your ego going to be able to stand the fact that you have 2 graduate degrees, but you're slinging burgers and fries? Can your ego handle that? Yeah, my ego can handle it because my goal's different. Mm-hmm. Can you handle smelling like burgers and fries and having no money, and when your friends go out, you say, I'm going to meet you afterwards at the end of the event? Because that's what I had to do for a very long time. I wanted to go out and see people hang out, but I knew I couldn't go to the dinner because I wouldn't have the money to pay for the dinner. So I say, what time y'all leave? 8 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to show about 9:30. Because I can't pay into the dinner, but I still want to see y'all. Is that going to be embarrassing for you? No, I can just be honest about it. And so